Hi there. Good noon and man. Whenever I read such things, I do realize that these are truth bombs, one after the other. And a lot of people argue for their limitations. What I've learned is that we should never argue for our limitations. We should always think of how to overcome them. And almost invariably, the key element that it requires is hard work and self-belief. Another way of saying it is that you need to be ready for heartbreaks. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and start our work together on the verbal ability and logical reasoning segment, which is typically the first section of the exam. But then you know that in XAT there is no sectional time limit, and therefore you need to allocate your time a little wisely. So although there is no sectional time limit, there is a sectional cutoff. So typically I'd say that to be on the safer side, you need to have 80 percentile plus. Last year, anybody who had a score of around 8.25 in verbal ability and logical reasoning got that 80 percentile. So most of the years this is true. So I'd say ideally you are targeting 9 to 10 marks for sure. Once you have this much, you should basically move over to the other sections, and then eventually the time that you have left with you towards the end, you can use it to come to whichever one of these three sections will help you maximize your score. Okay, so let's go ahead and practice. Here is question 1. This is basically, the kind of paragraph based critical reasoning that we get. So it is that paragraph based critical reasoning question where you have the paragraph on the screen, then down below you have the question stem. The next slide will have your answer choices. So why don't you go ahead, give it a read, and in 30 seconds I'll take you over to the options. Hi Vanshita, how are you? What's up? Okay, so here are the options for you. What do you think? What should the answer be? So what's your take on this? So in this paragraph, first we are told that there was a coup. Then the junta announces that former king had died of a mysterious illness. So what is being hinted at is that it was probably the military junta that went on to kill the king. Okay, so when you look at A, when you look at B, we cannot be sure of how they killed the king. So this part is something that cannot be determined. Similarly, this last part can also not be determined. Both of these will essentially boil down to data insufficient, but the current regime is very likely responsible for the death of the king. Yep, that's true. D. D is also true, but considering that we are looking for a key conclusion, it should be key conclusion. I think C is going to be better. So what they are actually implying, the journalists, is C. And D, it is extremely likely that the king is alive. Can't say. And that is what makes C the best answer choice for us in this particular question. So this is one of the question types that you should expect in the exam, critical reasoning. Then the other question type that you are likely to get is fill in the blank. So every year we get 2 or at least 1 fill in the blank question, where typically they give us an extract with 3 or 4 blanks. So instead of asking you directly for 3 or 4 blanks, let's just build it up to it. So here is your first fill in the blank question. Please go through it and tell me what your answer should be, and then we can take it up from there. All right, so the best answer here should be option C. So we can quickly look at it. So I normally, when I encounter such questions, I take it blank by blank. So you can pick up any of these. For example, let's start with the second blank. These issues are extremely something, and any knee-jerk reaction will ultimately result in a loss of curare for all shareholders. Curare is poison. So that obviously won't work. Specifically, poison that you get, the resinous poison that you get from the bark of certain trees. Ancient societies used to dip their arrows into that poison in order to kill people. Curare also turned out to be some of those earliest paralytic agents that were used in anesthetics, anesthesia. So this obviously won't work. Result in a loss of plutocracy for all shared. Plutocracy is a form of governance where the society is ruled by some elites or wealthy people. So that won't work, but opportunity can go. Loss of serendipity, no. Loss of resilience for shareholders, no. So if I look at the second blank itself, I am able to rule out A, B, D and E. Then Soumya, sir, I could not understand the strategy behind this. Less than 10 days left. Why are you guys uploading content at the end time? Why not? I'm sorry, I'm not able to read this last part. When somebody else messages, I'd be able to. There are certain, hang on, I can turning this help. Why not just after the cat? Soumya, we have been doing it. So if you'd notice, there are 2-3 things that are happening, right? So we have our own paid batches where we have been taking care of each one of these things right from the beginning. And right before every exam, we start focusing on that exam. So even if we talk about XAT, the reading comprehension part, the para jumble part, even the critical reasoning part has been addressed earlier. And then right after the CAT, a lot of people had this exam called SNAP. So we spent 2 weeks on SNAP, and talking specifically about VA and logical ability. SNAP asks you grammar questions, SNAP asks you vocabulary questions including fill in the blanks, and you notice that even in those SNAP sessions we did that. And from 19th onwards we pivoted towards XAT. We in fact started a XAT crash course on the 19th, which is almost 20 days before the exam. So a lot of these things are taken care of earlier. And then when you are close to the exam, we ensure that we go ahead and help you take care of any last minute issues. Okay. Here is question number 3. So the best answer here is going to be option. Absolutely, yes. C it is, guys. Absolutely. You guys have absolutely killed this one. So C it is. I think B can be ruled out because hints is not followed by on, so that will make it grammatically incorrect. Okay, and with that, here is the next one, which is a lot closer to what you can get in an exam like XAT. So 4 blanks, go ahead and tell me what all should work for each one of these 4 blanks. My suggestion, take it blank by blank. So read the entire text first, then pick it up blank by blank and then see where it takes you. So shall we? So let's start with the first blank. Conflict is a great clarifier. In a conflict, the opposing individuals, the opposing contacts. We don't use contacts for persons. Ally is singular, will not work. Opposing protagonists. Can we use protagonists? Protagonists are the central characters in a movie or a novel. The positive one, the negative one is called antagonists. I don't know. Let's see. Counsels, it can be used. So you notice on the base of the first blank itself, we can eliminate B and C. So let's move on. Conflict is a great clarifier. In a conflict, the opposing dash, individuals or protagonists, counsels, not only come to a better understanding of each other's arguments, but are forced to reflect on the cogency and clarity of their own beliefs. Cogency will work. Weakness and clarity. We've already ruled out B and C. So illogicality and clarity of their own beliefs. Why would you reflect on illogicality of your own beliefs? Moreover, the word that is coming after the and is clarity, which is a positive word, and we know that and joins similar ideas, not opposite ideas, so this can be ruled out. Conviction and clarity, yes. So far we are looking at A versus E. So which one of these two would you choose? Conflict prevents one from becoming bewitched into thinking or senile into thinking. You don't become senile because of conflict, you become senile because of age. And you don't become senile into thinking, but bewitched into thinking, yeah, that can definitely work. So this helps us eliminate even E, and thus A should be our best answer. Dialectical adjustment is also fine. Perpetual adjustment, adjustment that never stops. Nah, this is specific to only conflicts. So even perpetual will not be a great fit. And that is what makes A still the best answer choice. So third and fourth blank, you won't find them quite suitable. So that's about fill in the blanks. Let's go ahead and solve an odd word out question. I don't know. I mean, XAT has not even been asking this, but yesterday when I was creating this test for you, I had a strong urge to put an odd word out. I don't know why. And normally when I have such strong intuition, I let it be. So why don't you go ahead and tell me which one of the five is an odd word out in about 20 seconds from now? Okay, so the right answer here will be copious, because all the other four words essentially talk about things which are dangerous. And copious simply means in great quantity. So I often see people drinking copious amounts of alcohol in these weddings that take place. Soumya, how to eliminate if someone does not know the meaning of the given options? Soumya, in that case, it is best to leave that question out. At the end of the day, vocabulary is a knowledge-based area, and we become better at vocabulary only through consistent effort over a long period of time, which basically means that if you have not been devoting time to vocabulary every day, today is a great day to start doing that. Okay, so do not delay it by even another day. So there you go. Death stroke. I won't really call it copious a positive word, but maybe if that helped you in this case, who knows. Okay, and with that, let us get into going through a passage, the kind that XAT would ask. So here it is for you, the first paragraph. Done? Should I take you over to the next? So here is the next paragraph for you. Okay, and here is the third and the last paragraph for you. Shall we? So here is your question based on the passage. And I Should I? Okay, let me. The question says which of the following cannot be inferred. Okay, so you're not looking for what can be inferred. You're looking for what cannot be. So let's go ahead and see what you do. So when it comes to option A, what should I label it? True, false? Can't say. Option A can be inferred from the second paragraph. You remember there's this line in second paragraph which says Kierkegaard associated cleverness with what he considered inferior forms of life, the aesthetic and the ethical, in contrast to the genuinely religious life. So A is definitely true. Kierkegaard had a negative view of certain human tendencies. You remember that is exactly where the passage starts. It says human beings become increasingly clever in an evil sense. So definitely true. C. Kierkegaard believed that true religion involved embracing absurdity and suffering. Yep. Paragraph 2 says, in contrast to the genuinely religious life, which was for him not a matter of dogmatic belief, but an embrace of the absurd and the suffering that characterizes human life. So true. The moralist and the aesthete. Okay, aesthete is a person who understands and enjoys beauty, and then you have a moralist. Moralist is a person who tries to force other people to behave in a way that he thinks is the moral way, the correct and the honest way. Such people who typically force others to behave in a particular manner or teach others to behave in a manner that they think is the right moral path forward. So the moralist and the aesthete had this misconception of control according to Kierkegaard. Kierkegaard, absolutely yes. Kierkegaard, in fact, this is something that we can get from the last part of paragraph 2, sorry. So this is true, and E is actually false on the basis of the last paragraph, and that is why Vanshita, you're absolutely spot on. The answer must be E. And here is the next one. Okay. So this is something that can be concluded from the last paragraph. In fact, if you just look at the last few lines of the passage, they tell us that Kierkegaard was advocating a humbler form of cleverness that acknowledges the bounds of human reason and her tendencies towards evasion and self-deception. So this idea is captured best by option E, and therefore that should be the answer that we go ahead and choose. And with that, let me take you over to the next and the last question based on this passage. Why was Kierkegaard against the moralists and aesthetes? So Somita, Reena, that was absolutely spot on from you. Here is one more question for you to tackle. Let's see how we deal with this. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into this. This is a specific idea question, right? So paragraph 2 says both the aesthete and the moralist use forms of cleverness to evade such suffering, right? And that's the core criticism, that you cannot. And that is best captured by option C, and therefore C should be our answer to question number 8. And they use cleverness to grasp and condemn the world from outside. Grasp. Are they able to grasp? Are they able to condemn? Let's just go back. Let's just read the lines once again. Hopefully we'd be able to find it. There are attempts to secure a grip. Where does it say condemn? Moreover, they attempt to do that. Do they succeed? So that's the problem with option D. And with that, now that we are done with RC, and I've already taken you through poems in 2 of my previous sessions, let us go ahead and talk a little more about grammar today. So let's go on. Here is a warm-up question for you. So if there are 6 sentences on the screen, all the 6 are largely conditional sentences, barring one actually. Which one of these are grammatically incorrect? So if you're good at conditional sentences, I think it should be easy for you. So shall we? Okay, so here when I look at second, it should be if you had confessed. First is all right, second is wrong. Third, I will not tell your whereabouts unless the police will ask me. No, it should be unless the police asks me. So 2 and 3 are definitely wrong. 1 is right. So A is ruled out. We definitely need to have 2 and 3. So chances are it should be E. Let's go ahead and look at fifth. Even if I would ask him, he would not come. Nah, it should be even if I asked him. So fifth is also incorrect, and that is why our answer should be E, and you guys have absolutely nailed it. Here is the next one. So which of the following sentences are grammatically incorrect? Go ahead and tell me what you think. So what's your take? You were really good in the previous one. Okay, so first, Kirti claims that if she, it should be, now you notice we are talking about a hypothetical situation, impossible conditional if you may. So it should be if she had gotten, so we needed past perfect here. So first is definitely incorrect, which means that option B can be ruled out. How about second? The doctor recommended that the patient's skin sign the form. Now you may feel that this is incorrect, but this is absolutely right. If you want to dig deeper, I would urge that you go ahead and study something called subjunctive mood, and you would know why this sentence is grammatically correct. So 2 is all right, which means A, C and D are ruled out. And that leaves you with E as your answer. Let's go ahead and check. The interview was broadcasted. Broadcast, the second and third forms of broadcast are also broadcast. It is not broadcasted. It is an irregular verb. Then fourth, bacteria is. Bacteria are. Bacteria is plural. Bacterium is singular. Fifth is all right. It is I who needs support. Perfectly fine. So 1, 3 and 4. And thus our answer is E. Okay, here is the next one for you. So this time around, giving you just one sentence written in 4 different ways, and your job is to this time around pick up the sentence which is grammatically correct, not incorrect unlike the last two. Okay, Parth has shared his answer. So let's focus on the differences. So you notice we need will, so B is ruled out. Then borrow or borrowed? Borrow, so even C goes out. Then has or have? Definitely not has, because the subject here is hopes, which is plural. So now it all boils down to, oh sorry, I needed to rule out A, not C. Let me just use the eraser once. So ruled out A. So D versus E is what it comes down to. So what do you need? Present perfect or simple past? So we use, when the time of occurrence is not known, we use present perfect, right? So because the time is not known, we prefer D over E. So D it is. So if you've chosen D, you've chosen wisely, you've chosen correctly, and that is indeed the right answer choice. And this is what I had brought for you in this particular session today. We will dive into critical reasoning tomorrow. Have a great day ahead.